Okay guys, so in today's video I'm going to be talking about the ins and outs of feeding your crested gecko and what I believe is the best sort of feeding regime for them, which is actually quite different to what a lot of people have believed in the past. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to be talking a bit about what's going on with the channel and stuff. So if you stick around till then, you'll see that. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So what most people do to feed the crested geckos is they get one of the big name branded crested gecko diets, like Pangea or Rapashi, which I'm showing you right now. They feed the crested gecko these rehydrated with water, and then maybe give them some insects once a week or once a month or never at all. And lots of people doing this do struggle with young crested geckos eating, and lots of people, surprisingly a very large amount, end up with stunted crested geckos, and this is for good reason. Scientific studies in the wild have actually shown that crested geckos do consume far more insects than we ever gave them credit for. So obviously feeding them mainly a fruit paste in captivity is not going to be good for them, and in my experience with my own crested gecko, which I've had for over a year and a half now, I have found that they do tend to need more insects than, as I said, we gave them credit for. Moreover, many people really do underestimate the importance of dietary variety because in the wild, these animals are just eating basically anything they come across that they can digest. So, giving them a single fruit powder like every day of the week for their entire lives just is not going to compete with what they'd naturally have. So I'm showing you here some of the different foods that I give my crested gecko. We've got locusts, Rapashi, Pangea with insects, Arcadia's sticky foot gold and Arcadia reptigold. Now you may remember that a while ago I did a video on what a crested gecko's favourite food was, not necessarily the best food for it, and at that time my crested gecko wouldn't eat Arcadia's sticky foot gold on its own, but then a couple of weeks after that video, after probably a year of trying to get him to eat it, he's just suddenly started really chowing down on it, so now it is a major part of his diet. It's also important to remember that you can offer lots of variety in the insects you give your cresty. So right now I'm showing you locusts, but you can also offer crickets, calciworms, the odd mealworm. There's like an enormous amount of insects available on the market, and really it's up to you to make the best of that and offer as many as you can to your crested gecko. My Cresty's personal favourites are crickets, but whatever insect you choose to give your crested gecko, make sure that it's gut loaded and powdered with supplements. And by gut load, I basically just mean offer it some veg for at least a day before you feed it off, and just to make sure that it's nice and healthy. So when it comes to an actual feeding regime for your crested gecko, what you should offer them really does depend on how big they are, or essentially how old they are, but really you want to go off size rather than age because different crested geckos are going to grow at slightly different rates. Now for hatchlings and juveniles up to about 20 to 30 grams, they'll let you know, trust me, mine did. You're going to want to initially offer insects every single day, and then you're going to slow down to offering insects every other day, then every 2 days and every 3 days as they're reaching that 30-gram mark. And after about 20 grams, they're going to start showing more and more interest in fruit. So to start off with, if you've got a hatchling, you can try offering fruit pastes or Rapashi or whatever every few days, but you're probably not really going to get much of a response until about 20 grams. Although if your crested gecko is a bit different to mine, and it does eat those, then you can offer him as much as you'd like. But after about the 30-gram mark, the major growing for your crested gecko is basically over, and it'll probably start slowing down from then on. So insects, once they've reached this mark, can be sort of every 5 days, a bit more often than once a week, but every 5 days at least. And then you can start offering crested gecko diets every other day, just so that your crested gecko doesn't get overweight. Now, as short and simple as that was, that is it for this guide on feeding your crested gecko. Now, really, it's based up of things that I've experienced in my own time keeping my own crested gecko, and obviously I've only got one cresty, so there's probably a lot more that could be added on to this video information-wise. But given that my crested gecko has had a great growth rate and he is doing really well, and more scientific information that we're receiving seems to support the ideas that I've had, I would say that this idea for feeding crested geckos more insects, and a varying amount depending on their age, does seem to be a real step forward. Now, if you cast your minds back to the start of the video, you might remember that I did say I was going to be talking about stuff to do with the channel. So I will go through that dead quick right now. We did recently hit 1,000 subscribers, and I've done a sort of competition thing for it, and I'm going to be doing a question and answers video. But really not that many people took part. I've actually had more participants in the past. So I'm going to extend the deadline slightly. It's going to be finalised to the 10th of August, and I'll be drawing the winner for the competition then, and I'll be doing the Q&A shortly after. So if you want to take part in that, then just leave comments on that video. I explain what to do in there so that you can take part. But that is everything that I wanted to say. So thank you all for watching this video. I do hope that you found it informative or you enjoyed it if you already knew this stuff. And I do hope to see you in the next video. So I'll see you then. Bye guys.